This demonstration right here is the history of Camp Blount. It's Tennessee's latest historic site that we're developing about 2 miles from the square across the Elk River. In this display, there's an artist's perception of what Camp Blount looked like on October the 11th of 1813. And this picture shows General Andrew Jackson mounted on the horse, Sam Houston of the 39th U.S. Infantry. The third person standing there is Sergeant David Crockett, who was General Jackson's guide during the Indian War. And the fourth man is the local physician, Dr. These are the people in the forefront, but these are not the most important people in the picture. The most important people in the picture are right here and right here. That's the Tennessee militia and the Tennessee volunteers. Now, where were they? Why were these people here on this particular day, and where were they going? Middle of the War of 1812, the British and Americans had declared war again on each other. British had bombarded our ports, burned the White House, burned the Capitol. So how did this affect Fayetteville? Well, it really didn't, but the British did one other thing. They armed the Indians on the frontier. The Creek Indians were involved in a civil war. The Warring Creeks wanted to send a message to President Madison that they in no way were going to give up their lands. They were not going to sign any treaties, and they were not going to the reservation. So to send him that message, they made an attack on Fort Mims near Mobile in August of 1813. The settlers had gone into the fort for protection. 1,000 Creek Indian braves attacked at dawn one morning, killed everybody in the fort. 250 men, women, children, and all the military personnel. Of course, when word of this got back to Washington, President Madison was shocked. He sent word to the governor of Tennessee to answer that attack. Now, why Tennessee? Tennessee was the nearest state to the site. There was no Alabama, no Mississippi at this time. The governor, in turn, sent word to Lieutenant General Andrew Jackson, who was in charge of the Tennessee militia, to call forth the militia and as many volunteers as would come to help fight the Indians. And they were to meet in Fayetteville, Tennessee, on the banks of the Elk River. They called for 2,500, 4,500 showed up, and the next week the Nashville paper for the first time mentioned the term Tennessee, the volunteer state. And General Jackson, on that tour of the Indian War and later the Battle of New Orleans, he used the term in his diary several times, my Tennessee volunteers. So we think we lay a little bit of claim to the fact that we were partial home to the term volunteer state and Tennessee volunteer.